We in here. Pause. And then press the record button again and start it again. Uh, now I'm unpaused. Okay. Fair enough. That's easy. So we could just rock and roll right now. Cool. Cool. All right. Shake this off. Get in mode. Oh yeah, that's cool. It's cool. Man, so here we are. It's been a long time coming. I've been talking about doing this for a good amount of time. Today is what? January 15th, 2023, and we starting today. This is the first episode of Shark Talk. My name is Shaqq The Shark, in case you don't know me already. And I'm not sure when you discovered this, but we about to have a ball. This is about to be a really good time. I'm super excited, to be doing this because I feel like I've had a very unique life experience up until this point, and to be able to not only share some of that stuff with you guys, but to bring other people on here and have conversations that a lot of people will never be privy to outside of having access to a platform like this. I think is going to really change things for a lot of people, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about that. So the reason why I started this, the reason why I started Shark Talk, the podcast, is because one, I think I got a really great voice. But no, in all seriousness, I started this because when I was 19, I became an entrepreneur, and I never had anybody help me navigate or help me with insight on how to successfully be independent and take my life to the next level, or what it took to be successful, not even just in entrepreneurship, just be successful in general. In the last past couple of years, I've been able to connect with, high level people. And it's not just high level people from the aspect of financials. I've been meeting with high level, athletes, high level hip hop artists, high level entrepreneurs, high level, people in the gym, people just winning at life. And I started to realize that success has certain principles. And if you pay attention close enough, you can start picking up on those principles and using those principles for your own gain. And having those conversations with people, about some of the personal hurdles that we all go through, and just figuring out how they're successfully navigating those things, I think was critically important. So hearing from high level thinking people is, I feel like sharks at the top of the food chain. So anybody who's at the top of the food chain and whatever it is they're doing, I want to have conversations with them here. And also me being a shark, a multiple seven-figure entrepreneur, I can give you insights in my journey, some of the things that I went through, because even though I'm here now, I wasn't always here, and I had to go from basically zero in order to get here. And I promise you, it was not as easy as most people make it seem, when they're already sitting in the seat of success. Like, I hear stories all the time. People make it seem like it's just, oh, I'm great, and I got everything figured out. Even now, as I sit here in front of you, like, I'm not posing as if I got everything figured out, because I'm still learning every day. But I did figure out a good amount of things that allowed me to get to the position I'm at now. If I knew what I know now, if I knew what I know now from the very beginning of what it took for me to be here, I don't know if I would be here, right? Because if I would have known from the very beginning that it was going to take all of this, I don't know if I would have been prepared for it. But being able to go through the motions and go through the experience, I'll say that is definitely worth it. So, I really want to share that, my story, talk about mentorship and what it's done for me, and just give people insights into what I've been through. And the vision of what I'm trying to create is just giving you guys a place to go to. Like, one of the biggest things that I ran into when it came to mentorship was when I was 19, 20, 21 years old, I was looking for a mentor aggressively. I think by the time I was, I want to say 20, I was already making six figures a year. I think my income peaked out at that age like around $19,000 a month, right? And not to that's not to brag because honestly, it's not a lot of money, but for me at that time, it was an extreme amount. And I was looking for somebody to help me to understand how to stay in that position because getting there is great. But once you get there, you start to realize if you've ever been there, like you get a little nervous because how do I keep this? How do I remain in this position? How do I make sure that, regardless of what happens, that I'm definitely going to be okay? And so I was desperately looking for mentorships, and it led to a lot of things that were outside of my control. Like I'll give you an example. I had a business partner who embezzled probably multiple seven figures from myself and a couple other associates. And we gave this person the power to do this because we were looking for guidance from this person, and that person took advantage of being in that position. So I just decided, once I get to a comfortable place, I wanted to make sure that I gave people value and I gave people insight and I gave people some of the things that I did not have at early on in my journey. And I kind of depended on people who weren't necessarily qualified to be in that position, but were a little more insightful than I was at that time. And they used that to manipulate, to take advantage. And I don't want to see that to happen to other people. So I want to share, my story and other people's stories so you can get insight and also, you know, just learn things that you probably didn't know and on how to make money and it's not just always about money, but I do feel this way because I hear people say this all the time, like money's not everything. But I think that money is a great indicator when it comes to where you are in your life, right? So for instance, like not saying that how much money or how little money determines who you are because it doesn't, but if you're helping a lot of people, if you're doing things that are ethical, if you're doing things that are at a high level, then a lot of the times you'll be rewarded, in a great way to determine how much value a person is providing is how well off they are. That's one way, so I think that where you are financially is a direct indicator with how much value you bring to the marketplace or bring to the table, so having money is not necessarily a bad thing because we all need it, right? So I think that that's important because I think a lot of people try to talk themselves out of success because they got these preconceived notions when it comes to money, like it's a bad thing, so that's what I want to do. I want to help people who are like me. I was raised in a single parent home. I didn't have a father around. My mother taught me everything she knew, which wasn't, enough for me to be a man and also an entrepreneur. So I had to navigate certain things on my own. I want to help people who know they want more out of life, whether it be young men, young women, old old men, old women, doesn't matter who you are, right? But I want to help those people who I know I want something. I don't necessarily know how to navigate or what I need to do in order to get there, but I'm looking for that information. I want this platform to be somewhere you can go to and get some level of insight, right? So, um, one of the things that I was having a conversation with, I was having a conversation earlier with my little cousin. It's kind of weird that I call him my cousin because he's so young. He almost could be it almost feel like he my nephew, but he my cousin. By the way, happy birthday, Samir. I'm shooting this first episode on your birthday, man. So it's only right that I actually shout you out. And I was having a conversation with this young man, and I realized that, man, this dude is like super mature for his age, and he's very well poised. And I just want to just share certain things with him, and I want to share some of the things with y'all that I would like for a young person in my family to know, or anybody, right? Because I think that one of the things that helped me a lot with winning and with having a certain level of success is understanding certain principles, right? So this principle right here, I think I learned it when it came to trading, right? So I once I learned it in trading, I took it and just was like, this isn't just a trading principle. This isn't just, something that you can use when it comes to stocks or actually investing money, but it's a really good life principle. And I think that is something that a lot of us are missing, especially us millennials, right? So in trading, they say it's something called trading IQ, right? So the trading IQ basically means whenever it's a formula, whenever your intelligence is high, that means simultaneously your emotions are low, right? And when your emotions are high, your intelligence is low, right? So once I learned that, I realized, I said, wait a minute, this is not just a trading principle. This is a real life principle. And so many of us need to understand that, whenever you're acting out emotions, I think as young African Americans, especially, I see a lot of us, we have anger issues, attitude problems, or we just angry at the world just based on, some of the circumstances that we had to start with. I know when I first started my journey, like I said, I came from nothing, zero. And sometimes it's a little bit frustrating having to go through the hassle of not having resources, but having ambition. Like, you may have ideas that you want to execute on, or it may be some things that you want to do. And when things don't go your way, or when you want them to happen, we tend to get very emotional, right? And when our emotions get the best of us, we tend to act up, or we tend to get out of character, so to speak, right? And I think that's one of the things we tell ourselves. But the reality is, if you allow your emotions to dictate who you are or how you are, then it's not out of character. It's actually your character if you continuously do it. But if you learn to have emotional intelligence and understand that you're a human and you're having a human experience, and within that human experience, you're going to have feelings, and when those feelings arrive, those feelings doesn't necessarily have to control how you act, but you can actually control those feelings and feel them, understand them, and try to get more understanding within yourself. And once you get to the point of understanding you, then everything else starts to become outside of yourself. So now you got a control on your emotions. So your emotions start to be controlled and you're not as emotional. So you can start thinking rationally, right? I think becoming or understanding this principle was one of the first lessons that helped me start winning at a higher level, because even when things weren't going my way, I was very poised. I was very stoic, and I had my composure. And once you have your composure, you become a powerful being. And let me explain to you why and what I mean by that. The reason why you become powerful when you have the ultimate poise and control over your emotions is because, like, I'll use this as an example. Let's use the guy who, I don't know, is super successful. This guy may make, I don't know, $500,000 a year or $1 million a year. Who knows? Whatever the number is, right? The thing that most people don't understand about a lot of these people who are winning at a higher level is, when you're winning at a higher level, you're also, in most cases, spending at a high level to maintain, the level that you are. So, I know people talk about, like, oh, Bill Gates, you don't see him wearing Gucci. Obviously I got on a Gucci sweater, or, this, I hear it all the time. They talk about, oh, this billionaire, look at these two billionaires. They don't have not one piece of jewelry on. It's like, well, he got a private jet. Or, some of these brands that you see Bill Gates wearing, these sweaters, or, these, that looks cheesy to you. Like, if you go to, some of these stores, even like a cheaper store is like Brooks Brothers, right? And I say cheaper because in comparison to the country clubs and some of the places that these guys go to, these clothing materials, you can go in there and get a collar shirt that's not branded and spend $1,000, $1,500, and it's nothing that people will even notice. But I say all of that to say this: these higher level earning people spend their time in places that cost more money. I have a gym membership. My gym membership is $250 a month, where obviously LA Fitness is right down the street. But the reason why I'm pointing this out is because when I go to the gym, it's other people in that same said gym who are a higher caliber person. So everything costs more when you're on a higher level, because in order to maintain that new level, you have to be around people that's on your level. The reason why I say that is this: if you're making 500,000, $1 million, or it doesn't matter what the number is, one of the things that you have to contend with is taxes. You have to contend with, higher spending. You have to contend with a lot of things that most people who are not on that level can't relate to. But the point is this: sometimes even people who are doing well financially have bad days or bad months or even bad years. And see, this is the difference between those type of people who are winning and always winning on a consistent basis and people who can't seem to get to that level. Is whenever they have those bad times, most people can't tell the difference. Now, what do I mean by that? Right? Like I'll use somebody who everybody knows as an example. This guy Elon Musk, right? Somebody that I look to when it comes to just how he move and just try to grasp understanding. Now, I don't agree with a lot of the decisions that this guy Elon Musk make, but I will say this about him that I respect. I respect the fact that when things are crashing and burning, he don't always look like everything is crashing and burning. He control his emotions enough to at least have a poised position where he can still stand in a position of leadership. Now, the reason why that's important is because if you have $1 million to your name or $100 to your name, if you walk outside and people can't tell the difference, then that puts you in a position of power. Now, it's not about how much money you have now. It's about you understanding these principles, because when you understand these principles, you're able to operate in such a way where you're always in a position of power. One of the quotes that I actually had in my phone, and it was just something that I had as a screensaver for a little while. It went, whenever you're strong, appear weak, and whenever you're weak, appear strong. And the thing that I took away from it was, it doesn't matter what your position is. Always make sure you're posturing in a way that's beneficial for you, and always make sure that you're not overdoing it whenever you're in a position of power, right? So like, let's say if I'm trying to go buy a house and I'm a multimillionaire, I'm not going to show up to the house looking like I'm ready to buy the house, over asking price. It's not beneficial. I'm going to show up and appear to be like a normal everyday person. And even if I could pay for the house in cash, I may say, I want to think about the price, and I don't, that way the seller is willing to negotiate if there's any negotiation room, right? So I'm telling you guys this because, see, these principles aren't the thing that just like, I don't think like this just because I'm in the position that I'm in. And I think that that's a common misconception. See, the thing about winning and being successful is not, you don't develop certain mindsets because you're successful. You develop the mindsets to become successful. And once you have the mindsets, you become the thing, right? A lot of people think it happens backwards. They think that once I get to the point of having more money, or once I get to the point of being in the way you are right now, then I'll behave this way. But you're missing the whole point. Because if you behave this way now, then getting to the results is something that's going to happen for sure, because you became the person that the results are warranted for, right? I think that as a society, we have placed too much value on positioning and things than we have with becoming the person that we need to be in order to get in position, right? Who you are is a lot more important than who you become. So going back to being emotionally, having your emotions low and your intelligence high, being able to have certain poise, no matter what your position is right now, you will come off hungry rather than thirsty. I think a lot of people get those two conceptions messed up. If you're thirsty, then you come off as if you're desperate. You come off as if you needy. You come off as if this doesn't happen, my life is going to collapse. You come off so like it's like nobody want to be around you, right? But you could be a person who's hungry. You could be in the same exact position as the other person. You could have overdue rent payments, right? You could have overdue light bill. You could have everything going on, but you're hungry. That means you show up and you just willing to get the job done. You're not wearing your problems on your sleeve. You don't come off as one of those people who, if this doesn't work out right this second, your world is going to implode, right? I think that those people who understand the difference between being hungry and thirsty are the people who are actually going to get to the next level. So, anybody who's looking to win, I think I think that you should definitely consider what I'm saying, because I think too often when I have conversations with young people or with people who are just trying to, figure their life out in general, majority of the time, this emotional intelligence balance when it comes to, IQ is one of the things that I notice commonly are out of balance. And I think that if you work on that and just start focusing on being smart, and just start focusing on putting your best foot forward and not allowing your feelings to like lead you in every situation, I think that you'll have a lot more clarity, you'll have a lot more opportunity, and you'll have a shot at really winning. You know, I actually learned this story, and I shared this story before, and the reason why I share this story, I wanted to share this on the first episode. It's only right, because I think that it's one of those things that, even in moments where I didn't always feel like I was at the top of my game, right? It's one of those stories that helped me bridge the gap and get over whatever was temporarily going on, right? I think that it made me feel like a superhero, even when I was like at the bottom, like feeling like the world was on top of me rather than me being on top of the world, right? When I heard this story for the first time, I think I was like 20 years old. Like I said before, I was already making good money. I was scared out of my mind at the time because I felt like my income would stop any day. I was making terrible investments all the time, just out of desperation, really, because I wanted something to, I wanted something to materialize from the money that I was making, and I didn't have enough faith in myself, in order to maintain what I was doing myself. So I would invest in other people's situations because honestly, at the time, I believed in other people more than I believed in myself. But the story went like this. I was actually having a conversation with this guy, and he said, man, listen, it's easier to be successful than it is to be average or be broke, right? And I was thinking, like, I don't know what you talk about, bro. I don't know who told you that or why you think that's the case, but I strongly disagree, because, I'm young, I'm making all this money, people looking at me like I'm successful, and there was nothing easy about what I accomplished up until that point. And he was like, okay, I understand why you feel that way, but let me ask you this question. And then I'm listening, I'm like, okay, what's up? Like, how many people do you know are generally like literally trying to be successful? And I don't even just mean financially. I mean trying to be successful like spiritually, with their health, with their relationships, and also financially. How many people do you know? And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, me, I knew a couple other people, one of my business partners, I stopped maybe at around 5 people at the time. And he was like, okay. Okay. How many people do you know that are just trying to get by? Immediately, I'm thinking like, bruh, how long you got? I'm like, hold up, let me pull my phone out. I'm like, bruh, we could go all day. And he was like, okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. You good, you good. Like, we both dying laughing, right? And then he was like, I think you just made my point. And I'm sitting there confused. I'm puzzled. I'm like, I don't know what's your point, bruh. And he was like, the reason why it's easier to be successful than it is to be average or broke is because there's no competition. Nobody else even trying. When he said that, I was taken back like how I am right now. And I was just thinking to myself, like, holy crap. I've been beating myself up all of this time, not knowing whether or not I was qualified enough to really truly live the lifestyle that I wanted, like really wanted. I'm not talking about, you know, I casually wanted it sometimes when it was convenient or when I'm around certain people or when I'm around girls, I'm acting like I'm that guy. Like, no, when I'm in private, I knew what I wanted. When I'm in public, I know what I want. Like I'm presenting myself as the person that, you know, I've always wanted to be, right? To the, like even now, like I'm still working towards, you know, knocking down, you know, certain accomplishments to even further the goal and the vision. But in that moment I realized that the fact that I was already that way and was bold enough to really give winning a chance, that put me ahead of the curve so significantly. If you're watching this podcast, if you're listening to this podcast, you're so far ahead of 90% of people just by wanting to hear or desiring to be better. Because the reality is, as much as people pretend like they like that, most people aren't built like that. Most people have zero interest in self-development. Most people have no interest in growth. Most people will not go through the suffering, the pain, the loneliness, the social, I guess, the only way I can word it is that social isolation, you know, because it's cool, you know, it's like, you know, drip. We got drip now, like we dress, you know, a little fancy now, but it wasn't always like this, man. It's been times where, you know, I may have, like I said before, when I'm 20 years old, I'm making 19,000 a month. I wasn't going to designer stores. I wasn't, you know, buying ridiculous cars or flying out the country and doing a bunch of traveling and doing all of that stuff because I was I was too worried about making sure that I really won before I kicked my feet up. I was focused on investing in my future. I was focused on really genuinely winning. See, most people, if they get a bonus from work, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna take that money, go on vacation, give it to their significant other, blow it on something, buy themselves something from, you know, that they always wanted, right? It's the reason why when people win the lottery, most of the time those people don't die financially well off. And the reason that's the case is because those people just got success by the luck of the draw. Those people weren't planning for the success. Those people weren't suffering for the success. Those people bought a random ticket, put random numbers on that ticket, and won money. See, the difference between people who earn it and the people who win it or get lucky. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a problem with having a little luck. I think success and luck goes hand in hand. I think the word luck is is opportunity meeting somebody who's prepared. But sometimes luck is just luck, right? Winning the lottery, I know a lot of people think that's their win, that's their way out, but honestly, I've always been afraid of being ultra successful and not ready. And the reason why being way more successful and not ready is even scarier than not being successful is because if you ever become successful and lose it, that's worse. That's worse than never being successful. I don't know. Like I used to think to myself how crazy it was. Like when the stock market crashed. Right, we had a stock market crash in the U.S. and people were jumping out of buildings and just killing themselves. Right, like I just lost everything. I'm about to just kill myself right now, and they were not willing to just start over. Right, they weren't willing to suffer. Like people commit suicide because they're financially ruined all the time. And the reason why I think I didn't understand it then, but the more and more I started to win and understand psychology and understand people, I started to understand that winning and then losing that is even worse than never winning, because once you feel what it's like to be a winner, but you don't necessarily qualify for it, then if you're not putting yourself in a position to really be that person, like genuinely that person, then I think that you're always at risk of returning back to the level that your development really is at. So if you get lucky and strike for, let's just say the lottery, $1 million, $5 million, whatever the number is, you're at higher risk of being depressed than you were probably before winning. And here's why. And I learned this from personal experience, right? The person with the money meeting the person with the experience, generally, the situation is the person with the experience walk away with the money, and the person with the money generally walks away with the experience. So if you get into a situation where you have no experience and you're not developing yourself and you just get to the point of having money, then guess what? You're going to start meeting people who have a lot more experience than you do. And because your experience is so little, you won't know how to navigate or what to do. And that person with the experience will know. And that's the reason why I think that this is so critically important for you to understand, is because who you are and what you become is so much more important than what you have, because when you're the right person, you can have anything you want. And here's an analogy I think anybody can grasp, and I think anybody can get. It's something that I taught a lot of people that helped them start to understand this principle and start focusing on the right stuff. It's called the Oprah Winfrey effect. And obviously, Oprah Winfrey is somebody that everybody knows, media mogul, multi-billionaire, right? Oprah Winfrey is a person that I think is very interesting, because Oprah Winfrey have the ability to pretty much do whatever she wants, right? She has multiple businesses. A lot of her business interests, most people don't even know belong to her. I actually took my mom to a restaurant yesterday, and it was a restaurant called True Foods, and I told her, like, Oprah owned this, right? She was like, oh, does she? My mom loved Oprah. Like, oh, I didn't know that. I love Oprah, and she ordered the food. We enjoyed it. But Oprah Winfrey can do any business in the world, and the day she starts, she'll be probably 1,000,000 times ahead of 99.99% of people because of who she is. And that's the only reason. Oprah can go into a business with little to no experience, use absolutely none of her capital, and I'm sure she can blow that business to $1 million business pretty much overnight, just because she's Oprah Winfrey. Now, obviously, she has her brand. She's well known. She has all of these factors, right? That's what makes her Oprah Winfrey. But if Oprah have the ability to do these things just because she's Oprah, then what can you do because you're you? See, the focus isn't about what you can get because Oprah can do what I just explained. Let's say Oprah wanted to get into insurance. Oprah can have a lot of people start getting insurance that probably know they need insurance now, never cared to get insurance. But if Oprah says we need insurance, then we going to get insurance today, right? Why? She could start doing auto insurance. How many people going to switch their auto insurance policy to a company that Oprah sponsors? How many people are going to switch their phone bills if Oprah decides she wants to start a cell phone service? I don't know. Like, you can give any example, and it's going to be a core base of people that's willing to do anything that this person wants. Now, the question that I have for you is, why aren't you focused on becoming a person that can create value just because of who you are? Why is it that we're so focused on getting, instead of focusing on who we're becoming? Because once you become the right person, I said it before, once you become the right person, it's nothing that you can lack. You can get anything that you want after you do the prerequisite of working on yourself, becoming more valuable, having more insight, having emotional control over yourself. See, a lot of people can't even practice the stuff that I'm talking about because whenever they start to have certain feelings come up, that represents their past, they don't know how to control those feelings. And so they start a vicious cycle of doing the same thing over and over again. Right? I think that once we understand that we can actually win just by doing what we supposed to be doing, which is working on ourselves, there's nothing we can't do. So, this is the first episode. I'm excited about what's to come. I got some really cool guests that's already confirmed to be on the podcast. I think that whatever platform you're listening to this on, make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you give it a like. Make sure you share it with anybody that you think this can provide value to. If you're watching this video, if you're watching this on video on whatever platform you're watching it on, same thing. Like, subscribe, let me know what you got from it. Let me know if this was valuable to you. Let me know if there's any topics that you guys want to hear about. Any guests you want me to actually talk to. I'm open to it. I started this thing to make sure I provided value. Obviously we're going to have some real cool moments, but I didn't want this to be just a clickbaity, like, oh, guess who's dating who? Now, don't get me wrong. We probably going to talk about relationships because relationships is important, right? But, it's not one of those places where we doing goofy stuff all day. Like, I'm not going to be on here doing pranks. I'm not that type of person, right? We're going to be having some real conversations. If you're looking for any of that type of stuff, I promise you, this is probably not the right place for you. But if you're serious about winning, if you're serious about growing, right, we're going to have a lot of fun. This ain't going to be boring. I'm not going to be in here just talking, 100% about, hey, let me tell you how to, do X, Y, and Z. It's going to be some fun. Don't get me wrong. We will have some fun. But we definitely going to be giving a lot of insight, a lot of game, and I'm looking forward to seeing you win. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. I'm excited, and I look forward to seeing y'all on the next one, man. It's Shaqq The Shark. We out of here.